Hello, my name is Aaron Park, and this is 7th grade, lesson 22. So, for problem 1, Cameron is selling shirts. The price of each shirt was K dollars, but Cameron decided to increase the price by 7%. The expression K plus 0.07K represents the price of the new shirts. What expression also represents that price? So in other words, can we simplify this into one of these options? The answer is of course yes, but now let's figure out which one. K plus 7%, 7% K, 1.07K, and 0.07K squared are our options. Now, if we look at this expression, K plus 0.07K, we can look at it and know that we are just simply adding variables. Just like how x plus 2x equals 3x, you add the coefficients. We can do the same over here. The only thing is, just like how x has an invisible 1 here that we just don't write for the sake of convenience, 1 plus 2 is 3. This k also has a 1. 1 plus, this time it's a decimal, 0.07. 1 plus 0.07 is of course 1.07. So we stick this coefficient in front of a k, because all of these were k. And our final answer, 1.07K, is an option. It is B. Which expression is equivalent to the sentence below? P is decreased by 9%. Our options are 0.09p, 1.09p, 0.1p, and 0.91p. Now, since this is decreased, p should be smaller, so we eliminate b because this is bigger. Then we have three options. It might be tempting to pick A because you see this 0.09 and you know that 9% in decimal form is 0.09. This is true, however that doesn't mean A is right. What A is saying is 0.09p, 9% P, which means P wasn't decreased by 9%, it was decreased to 9%, but that's not what the question is asking, by 9%. So, decreased by 9% is the same as minus 0.09p. And how much did we start with? Well, we of course started with 100% of p, or just p. Just like before, we're simply subtracting coefficients. 1 minus 0.09 is 0.91p. Our final answer is D. The dimensions of the football field are p and q. The expression 2p plus 2q represents the perimeter, which expression also represents the perimeter of the football field. So here I've drawn out the diagram, and this is of course the perimeter, 2p, 2q. Now, what else is equivalent? A is correct, just by looking at it. You'll note that if you distribute out the 2, this turns into 2p plus 2q, which, if you look, is equivalent, is the same. If we look at the other options, they are not the same. Distributing out the 4 will give you 4p plus 4q, which is twice as big, that is too big, and these two are multiplying for some reason. Probably something to do with how the area is indeed multiplying the side lengths, but the perimeter is adding twice the two side lengths. So the answer has to be A. Perimeter equals. The profit of Larry's company was P dollars last year. The profit decreased by 6% this year, so he had a bad year. The expression P minus 6% P represents the profit made this year, which expression also represents the profit made this year. This is just the same as number 2, except they give us what we need to do, and they give it as a percentage. So if we rewrite this using decimals, it becomes very apparent that the answer is C. 5 is similar to number 2 and number 1 because number 2 It's like number 2 because it gives us what to translate into math, except instead of decreased, is increased. I'll let you do 5 and 6 on your own. For this next section, we are finding the slope of the line that passes through the points, and I'll do the last one as an example. If you remember, the slope of a line is the change in y over the change in x, which can be written as the coordinates of one point subtracted from the coordinates of another. Note that y is over x. Change in slope is y over x. Y over x. Or sorry, not change in slope. Just slope is change in y over change in x. Now, the second coordinate is the y value, and the first number is the x value. So, let's plug these numbers in. It doesn't matter which point you start with as long as you coordinate them. So 6 and 3, or you could write 6 and 2. Sorry, 16 and 3 or 6 and 2. It does not matter the order. Just remember, 6 should be on top of 2, 16 on top of 3. 16 minus 6 is 10, 3 minus 2 is 1. So the slope of this line that goes to these 2 points is 10. Now, identify the slope and the y-intercept of the line with the given equation. If we look at number 1, the equation is written in point-slope form, or sorry, not point-slope form, slope-intercept form. And in slope-intercept form, like the name suggests, the slope and the intercept are given. The coefficient of the variable x is the slope. So the slope is -3, and the constant is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept, however, make sure not to write y-intercept equals 10, because the y-intercept is a point. So we will write it as 10 is the y value, and 0 is the x value, because the line is intercepting the y-axis at this point. And in order to intercept this axis, the x value has to be 0. This line will look something like this, going downwards, intercepting at 10. So far, so easy. However, you'll note that the rest of these problems are written in standard form. Standard form does not make it as easy. Luckily, we can simply convert from standard to point-slope form in order to determine our answer. Alternatively, we can plug in to solve. I'll demonstrate both methods. For 2, I'll convert the equation to point-slope or slope-intercept form. We want the y isolated, all by itself. So first, I'll subtract 7x from both sides, which gives us this. Then I'll divide the entire equation by 2, which turns into this. This is a 7 minus 14. Now that we have this, we can simply repeat the process from number 1. The coefficient of x is the slope, and the y-intercept is the point 0, -14. Note that since it's minus 14, this is a negative number. Now, I'll demonstrate the other method, plugging in to solve. Since we know that the x value of the y-intercept is always 0, we can plug in 0 for x in order to solve for the other one. So 0 and an unknown y value. Let's plug in 0 for x, so you get 3 times 0 minus 8y equals 48. What is 3 times 0? It is, of course, 0. So we're left with simply -8y equals 48. Now divide both sides by -8. The coefficient cancels out, and this right side becomes -6. So we have found the y-intercept, 0, -6. As for the slope, this is a little bit more tricky. In fact, I would almost consider suggesting you to just simply do this equation conversion method in order to find both at the same time. if we want to try just plugging in points to solve for the slope, then we simply need to find another point so we can do what we did up here. Let's plug in 1 for x, since we know that 0, -6 is one of our points. If we plug in 1, we'll get 3 times 1 minus 8y equals 48. This turns into 3, because 3 times 1 is 3. Subtract 3 from both sides to get -8 equals 45. Divide again to get a less pleasant number, 45 over 8. So this means for every change of 1x, because it went from 0 to 1, it goes from -6 to this number, -45 over 8. -6. Sorry, it should actually be... Here, let me write out both points so you can see clearly. Let's say this -45 over 8. So the blue point first. 1 -45 over 8 minus -6, which is just plus 6, minus 0. So the bottom turns into 1, and the top, we can get the least common multiple of 6 and 1, or 8 and 1, which is 8. So this is -45 over 8, adding fractions, plus 6, which is -45 over 8, plus 48 over 8, making the denominators the same, which is 3 over 8. The slope of the line is 3/8. I recommend you use equation conversion, or you can try plugging in 0 to solve for the y-intercept and plugging another point to find the slope. That's all for this video. Thank you.